Welcome to Every Country Explained. Today, India. India, officially the Republic of India, is a country in South Asia. It is the seventh largest country by area, the most populous country in the world and, since its independence in 1947, the world's most populous democracy. Bounded by the Indian Ocean on the south, the Arabian Sea on the southwest, and the Bay of Bengal on the southeast, it shares land borders with Pakistan to the west, China, Nepal, and Bhutan to the north, Bangladesh. Their long occupation, initially in varying forms of isolation as hunter-gatherers, has made the region highly diverse, second only to Africa in human genetic diversity. However, the earliest known modern human fossils in South Asia date to about 30,000 years ago. Evidence for the Neolithic period in the western margins of the Indus River Basin, at Mehrgarh and Balochistan, Pakistan, dates to after 700 BCE. Domestication of grain-producing plants, including barley, and animals, including humped zebu cattle, occurred here. These cultures gradually evolved into the Indus Valley Civilization, which flourished during 2500 to 1900 BCE in Pakistan and western India. Centered around cities such as Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Dhalavera, Ganarawala, and Rakhigarhi, its characteristic features included standardized weights, steatite seals, a written script, urban planning, public works, and arts and crafts including pottery styles, terracotta human figures and animal statuettes. Networks of towns and villages grew around the cities in a new agro-pastoral economy. Between 1500 BCE and 1200 BCE, an archaic form of Sanskrit, an Indo-European language, diffused into India from the northwest. Its evidence today is found in the Rig Veda, the oldest scripture associated with what later became Hinduism, which was composed by Indo-Aryan-speaking tribes migrating east from what is today northern Afghanistan and across the Punjab region. The settling of the Ganges River plain took place during the next millennium, when large swaths of the river system's adjoining regions were deforested, at times by setting fires, or later by employing iron implements, and prepared for agriculture. The settlement may have involved driving the pre-existing people out or enslaving them. The Dravidian languages of India were supplanted in the north, creating a broad language family divide, with the Indo-Aryan languages being spoken mainly in the north and west, and the Dravidian in some parts of East India and most of the south. Classical Sanskrit, a refined and standardized grammatical form, would emerge in the mid-1st millennium BCE and was codified in the Adhi, 8 chapters, of Pini. All Hindus fall broadly into 4 castes, or varnas, Brahman, or priests, at the top, below them Kshatriya, or warriors, further below, Vaishya, or merchants and farmers, and at the bottom, Shudra, or the service class. Outside the caste system, and therefore of traditional Hinduism, lie people formerly called outcasts or untouchables, and now scheduled caste, a term used in India's constitution, or Dalit, a later self-description of pride, meaning broken or downtrodden. Each caste is further divided into subcastes, or jatis, many of which are tied to occupations. The custom of endogamy, or marrying within one subcaste, however, makes caste a hereditary label, not of one occupational choice, and has caused the caste system, therefore, to become entrenched. The Constituent Assembly of India abolished untouchability in 1947, the Republic of India did more formally in 1950, and India has since enacted other anti-discriminatory laws and social welfare initiatives related to caste. Still, caste-based inequality, discrimination, segregation, and violence persist. Multi-generational patrilineal joint families have been the norm in India, though nuclear families are becoming common in urban areas. A very large majority of Indians have their marriages arranged by their parents or family elders. Marriage is thought to be for life, and the divorce rate is extremely low, less than 1 in 1,000 marriages end in divorce. Many women marry before reaching 18, which is their legal marriageable age. Child marriages are not uncommon, especially in rural areas. In large parts of Hindu northern India, moreover, a form of territorial exogamy is observed in which a bride marries out of her natal village and her parents do not visit her in her. India's defining geologic processes began approximately 70 million years ago, when the Indian plate, then part of the southern supercontinent Gondwana, began a northeastward drift caused by seafloor spreading to its southwest, and later, south and southeast. Simultaneously, the vast Tethyan oceanic crust, to its northeast, began to subduct under the Eurasian plate. The Indian continental crust, however, was obstructed and was sheared horizontally. Its lower crust and mantle slid under, but the upper layer piled up in sheets, or nappes, ahead of the subduction zone. This created the orogeny,
or process of mountain building, of the Himalayas.
The middle and stiffer layer continued to push into Tibet, causing crustal thickening of the Tibetan Plateau. Immediately south of the emerging Himalayas, plate movement created a vast crescent-shaped trough that rapidly filled with river-borne sediment and now constitutes the Indo-Gangetic Plain. The original Indian plate makes its first appearance above the sediment in the ancient Aravalli Range, which extends from the Delhi Ridge in a southwesterly direction. To the west lies the Thar Desert, the eastern spread of which is checked by the Aravallis. The remaining Indian plate survives as peninsular India, the oldest and geologically most stable part of India.
It extends as far north as the Satpura and Vindhya ranges in central India.
These parallel chains run from the Arabian Sea coast in Gujarat in the west to the coal-rich Chota Nagpur Plateau in Jharkhand in the east. To the south, the remaining peninsular landmass, the Deccan Plateau, is flanked on the west and east by coastal ranges known as the Western and Eastern Ghats. The plateau contains the country's oldest rock formations, some over 1 billion years old. Constituted in such fashion, India lies to the north of the equator between 6 degrees 44 minutes and 35 degrees 30 minutes north latitude, A, and 68 degrees 7 minutes and 97 degrees 25 minutes east longitude. Major Himalayan origin rivers that substantially flow through India include the Ganges and the Brahmaputra, both of which drain into the Bay of Bengal. Important tributaries of the Ganges include the Yamuna and the Kosi. The cooked cereal could be steamed rice, chapati, a thin unleavened bread, idli, a steamed breakfast cake, or dosa, a griddled pancake. The savory dishes might include lentils, pulses, vegetables, meat, poultry and fish commonly spiced with ginger and garlic, but also coriander, cumin, turmeric, cinnamon, cardamom and others. In some instances, the ingredients may be mixed during the cooking process. India has distinctive vegetarian cuisines, each a feature of the geographical and cultural histories of its adherents. About 20% to 39% of India's population consists of vegetarians.
Although meat is eaten widely, the proportional consumption of meat is low.
The most significant import of cooking techniques into India during the last millennium occurred during the Mughal Empire, spreading into northern India from regions to its northwest, along with dishes such as pilaf. Onions, garlic, almonds, and spices were added to the simple yogurt marinade of Persia. Rice was partially cooked and layered alternately with sautéed meat, the pot sealed tightly, and slow cooked according to another Persian cooking technique, to produce biryani, a feature of festive dining in many parts of India. The diversity of Indian food served worldwide has been partially concealed by the dominance of Punjabi cuisine. The popularity of tandoori chicken, cooked in a tandoor oven, which had traditionally been used for baking bread in the rural Punjab and the Delhi region, especially among Muslims, but which is originally from Central Asia, dates to the 1950s, and was caused in large part by an entrepreneurial response among people from the Punjab who had been displaced by the 1947 partition.
A tandoor chef in the Turkmen Gate, Old Delhi, makes Khamiri roti, a Muslim.
As of 2026, Indian gross domestic output, GDP, have placed the nation as the sixth largest economy in the world. Measured by purchasing power parity, PPP, India is the third largest economy. It is one of the world's fastest growing economies with an average annual growth rate exceeding 5% from 1990 to 2010.
Demographics strain its economy, with the nation historically maintaining low GDP per capita both regionally and as measured by globally.
The vast majority of Indians fall into the global low-income group based on average daily income.
Until 1991, all Indian governments followed protectionist policies that were influenced by socialist economics. Widespread state intervention and regulation largely walled the economy off from the outside world.
An acute balance of payments crisis in 1991 forced the nation to liberalize its economy. Since then, it has moved increasingly towards a free market system by emphasizing both foreign trade and direct investment inflows.
India has been a member of World Trade Organization since January 1, 1995.
The 522 million worker Indian labor force is the world's second largest, as of 2017.
The service sector makes up 55.6% of GDP, the industrial sector 26.3% and the agricultural sector 18.
India's foreign exchange remittances of $100 billion in 2022, the highest in the world, were contributed to its economy by 32 million Indians working in foreign countries. In 2006, the share of external trade in India's GDP stood at 24%, up from 6% in 1985. In 2008, India's share of world trade was 1.7%. In 2021, it was the world's 9th largest importer and the 16th largest exporter. Between 2001 and 2011, the contribution of petrochemical and engineering goods to total exports grew from 14% to 42%. India was the world's second largest textile exporter after China in the 2013 calendar year, averaging an economic growth rate of 7.5% for several years before 2007. India has more than doubled its hourly wage rates during the first decade of the 21st century. Some 431 million Indians have left poverty since 1985. India's middle classes are projected to number around 580 million by 2030. Its hymns recorded the early dawnings of Hinduism in India. A nationalist movement emerged in India, the first in the non-European British Empire and an influence on other nationalist movements. 5. In 2008, India's share of world trade was 1.7%. In 2021, it was the world's 9th largest importer and the 16th largest exporter. Between 2001 and 2011, the contribution of petrochemical and engineering goods to total exports grew from 14% to 42%. India was the world's second largest textile exporter after China in the 2013 calendar year, averaging an economic growth rate of 7.5% for several years before 2007. India has more than doubled its hourly wage rates during the first decade of the 21st century. Some 431 million Indians have left poverty since 1985. India's middle classes are projected to number around 580 million by 2030. In 2024, India's consumer market was the world's third largest. India's nominal GDP per capita increased steadily from $308 in 1991, when economic liberalization began, to $1,380 in 2010, to an estimated $2,731 in 2024. It is expected to grow to $3,264 by 2026. Thanks for watching India Explained. Subscribe to TrendLens for more country videos. Which country should we cover next? Let us know in the comments.